But at the moment, now I'm really worried. Let me just ask him a simple question. The simple fact is this, that he is getting confused about this. His argument was originally about the deficit. It's now drifted quite rightly into debt. But debt is not some esoteric issue. If we do not pay off that debt and have a plan to pay it off, then all our interest charges rise. And the key thing here is, at the end of the day, it stacks up. Whether it's 1/1000th or whatever he calculates, you have to make a start. This is a major start on debt repayment. He needs to tell us now, if it's only, as he says, 1 billion per year, where is he going to find this sophisticated 1 billion to replace it?
Thank the Secretary of State for his intervention, and I'm sure his son is getting a better education than I could manage to provide, as he rather ungallantly suggested. But the fact is, it is 1/1000th of the 1.3 trillion debt, and the issue is one of balance and proportion. Is £1 billion... No, I'm sorry, I've given away enough time and I have to make some progress. No, I will not give way. I'm sorry to actually be able to quote some relevant arithmetic to the honourable members, and they don't seem to like it, but it is a fact. And to continue my point, 1 billion a year for 10 years and a national debt is 1/1000th of the national debt. No, I won't give way. No, I won't give way again. I'd be delighted to give way to my honourable friend.
Can I also welcome my honourable friend to his first outing at the dispatch box? But perhaps this interchange has just illustrated all too clearly why it is that women are deserting the Tories in huge numbers, because they don't feel that they should be the ones who are having to bear the burden of the debt that exists. And it's that balance that the government has failed to understand.
My honourable friend, with her usual sagacity, gets to the heart of the matter. Given that we're talking about a small amount of money in the scheme of things, this is about... The two tests we have set are this. Do the government's plans give fair and due notice to the women concerned? And do those plans bear proportionately on all women affected? The answer is no and no. The bill continues to place the longevity burden disproportionately heavily on women in their later 50s.
Even if the other side can't understand the point he's making, we clearly comprehend it this side of the House. The government has actually said it's given us a target when it will have actually paid off the structural deficit. We're into different territory. What I was hoping he might tease the government side on is, of the changes they're making to the social security budget, the overall changes, how much of those changes are actually going to bear on women compared with men and women?
I thank my honourable friend for his very important point. I mean, what this bears on is the fact, for all the talk, the other side of the House don't understand the difference between a deficit and a national debt. I mean, that's pretty clear from our discussion so far. No, I won't give way. So let me restate our case. This bill fails the two tests we set on fair and due notice of the rising pension age for the 500,000 women concerned. And secondly, it falls disproportionately on this group of women. Happy to take an intervention.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way on this point, and I am just conscious that people watching this debate who are affected by this will begin to wonder if we have somehow lost the plot here. And can I ask my honourable friend if he agrees with me that situations like my constituent, who's taken early retirement under deficit cuts, expected to get her pension when she was 64, now will have to wait until she's 66, and tells me that she is going to have a period of time where simply her money will have run out and she will have nothing to fill that gap with. And it is simply not the case that in any stretch of the imagination can be deemed to be fair.
This bears precisely on the point. It is real women we are talking about here, and we have to give due credence to their fears and anxieties, especially around due notice. So, On fair notice, the fact remains that under the government's amended plans, some women will only have 5 years to prepare. The shock cannot be underestimated, and this bears on the point my honourable friend just made, of having to adjust at such short notice to a rise in the pension age of between 12 and 18 months. This is a genuine anxiety that these women feel. The 500,000 women in question had made decisions based on what they thought was a contract with the government. They had paid into the system for a certain amount of time and would get their state pension at a certain age. The government has moved the goalpost dramatically for these women. There is no getting away from that. And it is another way in which the government is breaking the consensus that we appeared to have in 2010. The government is going down a dangerous path in this bill. It is setting a precedent by which the principle of reasonable notice of changes in citizens' state pension age is dramatically reduced. This precedent is important because, as longevity rises, and the Minister already suggested, there will inevitably be further uplifts in state pension age. This principle of reasonable notice is broken by this bill. The Independent Policy Pensions Institute were very clear in their evidence to the Working Pensions Select Committee on this point. The 95 Act gave women 15 years' notice, and the Pensions Policy Institute, although understanding longevity rising and the necessity of making changes quicker, still maintained that 10 years needed to be the minimum notice that any woman was given. I'll be delighted to give way.
I'm grateful to the gentleman for giving way, and I share his point that really the principle that the goalposts can be shifted with very short notice is a serious one. But will he agree with me that the whole problem with the longevity argument is that there are huge disparities in longevity between people's occupations, but also geographically between different parts of the country, and I'm sure that affects his own constituency as it does mine.
The Honourable Lady makes a very, very good point, and it's an issue which my honourable friend, the member for Croydon, often raises. Averages can hide great disparities by social class as well as gender, and that is a very important issue which I'm sure the Minister is very well aware of. Mr. Speaker, the principle of reasonable notice is broken by this bill. The government's concessions do not meet the fair and proper notice test, a principle of crucial importance. But the second test we set for the government was the proportionality test. The government is unfairly, disproportionately singling out women aged 57 and 58 for harsher treatment. I do not suggest that the government has singled out these women deliberately. Of course not. But I do say the government is not doing enough to compensate these women who have lost out in a birth date lottery not of their own making. These are not women who can afford, on the whole, the burden the government is placing on them. They have certainly done nothing to deserve it. The government should not make women like this carry the heaviest burden of rising longevity. It is unfair and unjust. 500,000 women will still have to wait between a year and 18 months longer than they would have to reach state pension age. As I've previously stated, 330,000 women, 1/3 of a million, will have to wait exactly 18 months longer, with both the psychological and financial burden this imposes. Be delighted to.
I'm extremely grateful to the Honourable Member. He's being very generous. There is a further unfairness, actually, which is the regional one, and that is the availability of work. That if people are to work longer, where are the jobs going to come from? And that certainly affects his constituency, my own, and the North East of England, and many other places. And not only that, of course, if they are filling jobs at the age of 65, 66, the knock-on effects on youth unemployment are also substantial.
The honourable gentleman makes a very, very important point. If women, and men too, are to work longer, but in this case women, we have to look at the figures for employment. My understanding is that up to 38% of women aged between 56 and 60 are not in employment at the moment. That is a very real issue that I'm sure the Minister is considering. Mr Speaker, this bill fails the two tests: unfair, undue lack of notice, but also the proportionality test. Take the case of Laura Davis. Laura, 57, is single and suffering from a heart condition and acute osteoarthritis, hampering her mobility. She works full-time, but her commute is a struggle. She was hoping for a dramatic revision of the pension bill's terms. Laura from Watford, Hertfordshire, says it is a shame the government could not meet us halfway and say that no one in my age group would be required to work longer than a further 12 months. That would have been a better compromise. That is a compromise we on this side of the House suggest. That is why we seek to amend the bill as set down in our amendments to Part 1, to which I will now, Mr Speaker, turn. Our amendments do meet the tests of due notice and fair treatment for this 500,000 women. Our amendments, if accepted, ensure that no women will wait more than an extra 12 months to reach their state pension age. Our amendments too bring forward the uplift in state pension age to 66 for both men and women from 2026 to 2022, because we recognise, as the Minister has emphasised and others on his side of the House have emphasised, that this is a difficult issue. There are no simple answers. There will be tough decisions that have to be taken. Our amendments, therefore, balance the sustainability, Mr Speaker, of the pension system with the need to treat all women fairly. Our amendments offer a substantial saving of $20 billion, but not at the expense of these women. The difference in annual savings accruing from our amendment versus the government, as I emphasised earlier in response to some interventions, is equivalent to 0.1% of central government spending in 2011-2012, or 1.3% of the government's annual pensions budget. Given the undue, disproportionate and unfair burden being placed on these women, I do not think that is too high a price to pay. It is therefore not credible for the government to I'll give way to the honourable member for Eastern Bartonshire first, followed by her honourable friend.